amazing human beings coming together for one sole purpose to talk about the power of surrender, the power that can happen in your life when you actually step out and let God step in.
Hello, hello. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing well. This has been amazing today. Why don't you tell people where you're tuning in from?
I'm tuning in from El Paso, Texas, a great country of Texas, all the way down here. As West
El
Texas as
Paso.
you can get, that's where I'm from.
Love it. Okay, so you sparked my interest, my curiosity already. What is that on your
Yes.
shoulder?
This is a world title belt. So I'm a fan of WWE wrestling, and it doesn't mean like, oh, look at me. I'm a fan of that. It's a special kind of piece for me because I told my wife like, hey, whenever you feel like I deserved it, go ahead and give this to me. And I put a meaning behind it of it has so many meanings to me. From like, hey, you're a great husband and you deserve this, you're a great father, all this type of stuff. But it's a representation of everything that I've overcome to be able to achieve this. Because, right, just because you're in the game doesn't mean you're going to win a championship kind of thing. But this was the representation for that, and we can get into the story as to how this came about, to this event, to this coming my way. But yeah, every time I look at this and I hold it, I feel like a winner, right? But I also
Yeah.
know it's also the best way that I can put it is my crown, right? The crown that I
Oh,
have
I
to
like that. Now you're
wear,
speaking my
which is
language.
exactly, this is my form of a crown, which to me it's not just like, hey, look at me, I'm the king kind of thing. It's a responsibility and its obligation as well. So that's the way I look at this, and this is a representation of all of that as
That's
well.
awesome. And so I will share with people. This is one of the kings in the coming edition of Surrender to Rise, the first King's edition. So you will be able to read
Yes.
his story in the chapter. But I want you to tell me the story of all of that. Just talk to us about all that.
Yeah, of course. So, even though I'm in my low 30s right now, I do have a family of four, and I have a lovely wife who we've been together for uh 12 years now. And that doesn't mean it's always been easy. It's not the rom-com comedy movie where it's like all lovey-dovey and all that stuff. We do have those moments, but we've been through it. Believe it or not, I met my wife when she was 19, and at the time she was older than me. She was 6 years older than me, and I already had a 3-year-old kid, and I was in disbelief because to this day she does not look her age. But the reason why I decided to like, hey, like you're 19, dude, you have nothing to offer her. You're broke. Your car is not good. You
Mhm.
are barely getting through college. You live with your mom. She's already established. She has an income. She has a kid. What do you have to offer to her, right? And the reason I was still adamant to be able to say yes to that responsibility, again, going back to responsibility of leading her as her man and leading the family as well as with her son, um, is the fact of my background, meaning that I grew up without a father. And the last time I saw my father was when I was 4 years old. So I saw the woman that I love at the time, which was my mom, the love that the one that I loved the most in the world, kind of struggle to be the mom that she wanted to be, that she could have been, right, if she had that support system from her husband, which was supposed to be my dad. So she struggled raising four kids. She had four kids of her own, and I was the third out of the four. And seeing that, growing up in that type of environment, feeling or knowing what it's like to not have a father figure, not have a positive male role model, and then coming face to face with that same type of environment, just with another person, meaning when I saw my wife potentially going through the same thing again, I was like, not in my time. Like, I'm gonna prevent this as much as possible. So I was a little 3-year-old boy, which now he's 15, but when I saw him, he was three, turning four. I saw myself in him, right? So like, nah, I can't let this kid grow up the same way that I did. He's gonna know what it's like to have a good father and a good role model. And again, this is a testament to all of that. But again, it's a responsibility as well.
Wow, wow. And you know, you like to be able to see yourself in the little ones. I mean, because it is up to us to be the difference, to make the change, to
Yes.
heal, forward. And so you've turned all of that into what you do today,
Hmm. Yes,
and do
exactly.
you work with other men like in your age bracket, or what, or like what does that look like?
Yes, in my age bracket, specifically men who are in a relationship and or marriage, because marriage right now, it has a bad rap. There's the divorce rate is high. The That's not even counting unhealthy relationships, right? That don't get divorced. It's just people stuck in them. And it's my marriage is my pride and joy. Again, this is a representation of my successful marriage, of the work that we continue to do, that I continue to do to lead my marriage, right? We have that cliche of when it comes to the couples therapy, it's the woman who initially leads it, kind of thing. She's the one that's like, hey, maybe we should go to therapy. But when it came to me, when I see marriage, it's men need to lead it. Men need to be able to see that that crown that they have is a responsibility. It doesn't mean like, hey, because of the crown, you need to submit to me. No, that means that that crown is a responsibility. You need to look at everything that you need to take care of within your marriage so that your marriage can win. That's a big thing is your marriage should win. Not you as a husband, not your wife as just herself. Your marriage together should win no matter what cost. So
Wow,
for
that's a
me,
nugget. We gotta pause like right there for a minute,
yeah,
because
of course.
that's a nugget. Like, people
Yep.
drop that in the chat. Your marriage should win.
Yes.
Like, how often do you
Yes.
hear that? You don't hear that. Like, that's beautiful.
No.
So I love that. Okay, I had to just like pause for a minute because that's really beautiful. To your marriage should win. I love that.
Yes, exactly. Because there's no room for egos in marriage. It's your marriage should win. You should always be working together as a team for the betterment of both of your lives, again, of your marriage. And that's not a mentality that came straight away into the marriage. I had to learn it the hard way, right? Because at the beginning, with relationships, you're looking for something, she's looking for something specific in the relationship. Some of those things clash, but through working together again as a team, you get eventually to a healthy marriage. And primarily me, I like the fact that I believe in the fact that when it comes to the men in the relationship, they should be the one leading it. That doesn't mean they have the say all and be all and it's their way or the highway kind of thing. Is you're still working with your spouse together in forming a decision, whether you're going in this direction or that direction. You're in a sense, you're knowing when to lead, but you're also knowing when to be led by your spouse because you don't know everything, right?
Mhm.
I guess the most basic example that I guess people can relate to is my wife at the time, she takes care of the grocery shopping, right? Because she knows what to take care of. If I took care of it, our household would be filled with hot Cheetos and I don't know what else, all of this unhealthy food. But she knows how to take care of that part. So I give her the space to be like, hey, you can lead that. And I trust you. I believe in you. She believes in me in the security part and the being the provider and everything. And we continue to prove that to each other on and on and on. And that's another key thing. It's marriage is it's for life. Again, I believe it's one of the best things that you can build in life. Again, if people come to ask me in 50, 20 years and I'm a millionaire, billionaire, or whatever, and they tell me like how much you have in your bank account, I'm gonna point to my wife. Like that's that's the most valuable thing in my life right now. Then my kids, and then the community that I have. All the money doesn't mean to me anything in the world if my wife is not there. Because I always picture myself in my deathbed. I can have millions in the bank account, but if my wife is not there, I'm gonna be like the loneliest man in the world. So that's how you that those things, right? But when it comes to marriage specifically, I believe that men need to be the one that lead it again with the perspective of your marriage should win. And big thing that helped me is to be led by God, by a real king, the true king, the King of Kings is be led by him, and he's my North Star, especially not having a good role model growing up as to what it is to be a leader, what it is to be a man in marriage, a husband, things like that. Everything that I go through that I have trouble with or doubt, I always look to him and like, what did you do? Let me go back through your story. What did you do here? How did you lead in these perspectives? Because there's things that you have to do as a leader sometimes that are tough decisions, right? But having that North Star with God specifically, that has helped me a ton in my life and in our marriage as well.
And I love how you bring that up. Well, I mean, North Star. Okay, he's my God, but I'm digging North Star too because that's like your compass, your direction.
Yes.
But you bring up something amazing that it's going to him in specific situations. When you're saying like I'm struggling with this right here, it's kind of, I know we've all seen what would Jesus do, but the way you
Hmm.
just explained it, it's like going to the source, going to the ultimate leader, going to the one, that can give you true guidance with your best interest at heart and the best interest of all that you love. And wow, I mean, it's like sometimes these things seem so simple, but yet do we do them on the regular? And so for you to say that, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I struggled with it. It's not like, again, I came into the picture thinking already that way, right? I had to, again, going back to the title of the book, Surrender to Rise. I had to surrender my ego. I had to surrender the fact that I have to be the one to figure it out. Now, in a sense, I do, right? But that doesn't mean I don't need help. And as far like when it comes to men in my life, I do struggle with having relationships or close relationships with men in my life, right? But the one that never failed me, because the men in my life are they're human, right? They're gonna fail eventually. But the one that has never failed me is God. So going back to him again and again, no matter what, I know that I can count on him and that he will help me through whatever, right? That he will be there no matter what. Because when I look back into my life, I know he's always carried me and he's carrying me to this day. And I always pray for the strength of the responsibility that he has bestowed upon me. And yeah, it's never lost on me that he's always there.
And you bring up a point because when we were putting the King's version together of Surrender to Rise, it was new for me. I didn't set out on this journey thinking I was going to do that, right? I work with comeback queens, and until someone said there are comeback kings too, that touched me. And I remember when I started asking, like, just the men, like, would you even want to be part of this? Is this something like I had no idea? And it was ego and vulnerability. Those were the two
Hmm.
key points that popped up that people thought it would be hard because men struggle with ego and vulnerability. And when I
Yep.
realized when God placed you men on my heart who are now part of the book that will be coming out, it doesn't show up because during that moment of surrender, you you give it to God, that it no longer blocks that. And now you know that piece is to serve people forward. I mean, that it's true, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's you don't when that moment happens, you have no idea the generational impact that you have. Again, when I look at this, it's not just like, look at me, this is my crown kind of thing, I'm the champion. I see when my wife gave this to me, she made a whole big deal about it. Like the kids were there, my daughters were there, so they see it and they're like, wow, look at mom, how she treats her king. I want to be able to do that when I grow up. At least I hope, right? Those are the seeds that we're implementing. Our son was here as well. Also, he's becoming a man, me teaching him the what it is to be a man, right? Um, because I know what it's like to not have one and what it's not to not be a man. I want to implement the seeds properly. And when they look at these things, even though they're materialistic, right, they know the meaning behind it, so that plants seeds, positive seeds in their head, for them to want them in the future. right? For them to want those same things. And we have to do, I'm doing my job again as the leader of my family and my marriage to do the best that I can, right? With the responsibility that I have, with the guidance of God, to provide whatever I need to provide for them, to plant seeds on trees and shadows that I won't stand in, right? Because the future is going to be better for them than it is for me short term, but that's the goal.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And I appreciate you sharing with us today in just the power of marriage, have the marriage should win, and just
Yes.
the example that you are changing the legacy forward for your family, and that's a gift, and that's the beauty of God. I love it. So thank you so much for being here with us today, and
Thank you.
everybody will see more when we're all there in Texas in May. So we'll be talking about that more, later. But thank you so much for sharing with us today, and give your wife a big hug for me too.
I will. Thank you very much for having me.